Welcome to the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Marianne Bacall, embodied leadership coach, holistic wellness consultant, and TEDx speaker. I'm on a mission to empower individuals and organizations to thrive from the inside out. Hey, Davana, welcome to the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. I am so excited to talk to you. One, because I've known Heather for a long time. She was actually one of the first podcast guests of mine when I first did this. This is like it's like a relaunch. And I've always seen you in her stuff, and I was like always just magnetized towards you. So when this came around, I decided to relaunch. The theme is Goddess Rebirth. You started coming up in my feed more, and I was just like, must reach out. So yeah, I'm excited to have you. But before we really dive in, can you share with the audience just your magic? You, so they get a little glimpse of all that is Davana, divine Davana, for those who follow you on Instagram.
Well, yay. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here. And the magic that makes me me, I'll start with my namesake. Davana is a flower that grows in India and was actually a big part of my spiritual awakening journey and even abusive, emotionally, unhealthy relationship. It was a catalyst to my self-love journey into actually connecting with the goddess and the goddess within. And set me on the path of working with the flowers and the plants and going deeper into herbalism and aromatherapy. And I'm here to share the love and wisdom of Davana, which is a really magical, beautiful flower.
I love that. And so it's so interesting, right? How everything really is connected. My name, Marianne, I was named after Mary, both Mary, Jesus' mother, and Mary Magdalene. And I'm just really into red is my favorite color. I've gone down the rose mystery path, Mary Magdalene, all that. And I'm like, it just always connects,
Yes.
So I love that. And so you share a lot. I mean, before I jump in, and I'll have you explain, recently I saw, and it made me cry. I think I sent you a DM about it, how you had the ritual with one of your friends, I think Mel, and it was just this beautiful ritual. She's pregnant. I don't know if that was supposed to be the baby shower. It was just so ritualistic. And that's what I envision all of our, transitions, our initiations to be. And it literally made me weep. I was just so touched with just the transmission, even talking about it and remembering it. I'm like, this is how it's supposed to be. I mean, you were singing, everyone was around her, she was in the bath, had a ritual. It was just so beautiful. I literally cried when I saw it. And I'd love for you to share, because that ties in with a lot of what you do with womb wisdom, with, helping women who are pregnant and postpartum. Can you share with us a little bit about that and how you got into it? Because I know that you're also a mother.
Yeah. Well, I love that you could feel the frequency and the depth of what we were holding and facilitating in that space, because it really is a rites of passage ceremony that we as women and mothers are remembering and coming back to these ancient ways of the beauty way and ritual and ceremony, and to just elevate our mind, body, spirits, and to honor these initiations that we go through. And the mother blessing ceremony actually the blessing way comes from the Navajo tradition. And there's different cultures around the world that have their version of it. And in America, it's been very popular to do the baby shower, which really focus on presents for the baby and not a lot of deep ceremony held in that space. So the mother blessing is for the mother. It is to honor her journey going from maiden to mother, if it's her first birth, if it's her third birth, and just becoming deeper into motherhood. And each pregnancy brings up so many different emotions and different things we're going through in life. And so each pregnancy, you get to have a mother blessing ceremony, which is a small sacred circle of your closest sisters, your dearest, closest women circle that come in and bring food and gifts for the mother. I love to ask the women to bring an item for her birth altar that she'll have. If she's having a home birth, it'll be set up in her birthing space. She might take some of these things to a hospital if it's a hospital birth, but it contains the frequency of the magic that we cultivated during the blessing. And for
Mhm.
the rest of her pregnancy, she gets to look at it. For me, the things that the women brought me were so beautiful, and I had them on my altar, and then I kept that altar up for like a year. It was on
Mhm.
my dresser, and I just tap into the love and the presence that the women poured into that day. And I carried it with me in my pregnancy and in my postpartum journey. And lots of flowers, and sometimes we'll do a flower foot bath. This time we did a whole full bath. I had a bath at my mother blessing ceremony, and she was there for that. Was really inspired by that. So just to bring in these beautiful priestess ways.
Yeah, I love it. And how did that journey go to you? Like, I know we go through a process in our own spiritual journey, right? One leads to another. How did you move into what it is that you, I want to call it specialized, but it's really what's aligned for you right now, with
Yeah.
the womb wellness, womb wisdom, all these things really holding mothers.
Yeah. So coming out of that relationship in 2014 that set me on my path of deep research. I was a psychology major in college. So I was just really into getting to the root of how I attracted this relationship. How did I stay in it so long? And I went deep into my healing journey, like so deep. And in that, I was just like, this is an epidemic on the planet. So many women all over the world are in abusive relationships coming from a root of obviously childhood conditioning, the patriarchal society, Disney movie. There's such a big part of that. The conditioning, and just what is this here to teach us? How do we heal from this as a collective, as women? And I was really into women's circles. So that's how
Mm,
it started. Started from we need to get together and sit in circle and
mhm.
share our stories and
Yeah.
connect to the herbs and the plants and drop into our wombs and do the Yoni magic rituals and bring in the goddess wisdom. And of course,
Mhm.
women's circles have been on this planet forever. So that's where that journey started. And then when I became a mother, I didn't realize at the time, but looking back, I was like, oh, that was my blessing way that was held by a dear elder. You lived in the Central Coast, and she is Native American, indigenous, and she put together this beautiful
Mm.
honoring of the wheel, the way that she did it. And I also had the big baby shower. It was traditional, but that I realized was my blessing way. And then for my second birth, I had a dear friend, Amber Valdez. She offered to put on my mother blessing for my second birth. And it was so beautiful. It changed everything for me because this was my reclamation birth that I went
Mhm.
from a C-section in the hospital, put to sleep, general anesthesia, into my free birth in the snowstorm. No, just me and my partner and a radical birth keeper. So having that circle held for me, that space was really potent in my reclaiming of my power.
Mhm.
And then I was just like, so every woman gets to do this. And I've probably held like 9 different ceremonies for mothers in that way. And it just is this, it's basically the sister circle I was doing
Yeah.
for, every month, but now with the focus of the mother.
Mhm. I think it's so, like, healing, it's such a gift, it's just so important, like, I've always loved women's circles, and for me, I've always been, and I know it hasn't, like, as I've grown up, I realize it hasn't been this way, like, I grew up with a lot of family trauma, however, my friendships, I always had really solid, like, women friendships. As I've gotten older, I realized that that's not as common as I thought it was, and we were doing our own, like, rituals. I didn't know back then we would, like, do art together or, create whatever it was,
Yeah.
and now it's like, "Oh, we were doing those." I mean, we didn't have the ceremony, the cleansing, none of that other stuff, but we were doing that, and that was always so life-giving, I always, like, loved it. Even now, we try to, not as much. We don't have as much time, but we gather, together. My bachelorette party with my ex-husband, we did it in, like, a ritual way, and we had, like, a cacao and mushroom ceremony. We
Yeah.
had, like, all like, it was just so much. I love it, and to have it's just this renewing energy. One thing that you said that started you off on your journey was the catalyst, was that relationship. I find that really, really interesting because I feel, especially in this path, there's always something that kind of catapults you into that, right? That like
The dark night.
initiation and
Dark night of
yeah.
the soul. Yep.
And I think for a lot who are listening to this, like who may have just started on their journey or maybe just a few years ago, like this is part of it, How was that for you in that process? Like holding yourself through that process. And now, I mean, all that you're doing, that was all necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like, some say our souls choose these partners, our soulmates. Like he was a soulmate to help
Mhm.
set my soul free. Like I had a contract with him to
Mhm.
essentially have my freedom taken away in this very controlling dynamic so that I could remember my power and reclaim my power
Mhm.
and set myself free, which is actually what the essential oil of Davana has done for a lot of women is set them free from the cage of fear that they trap themselves in. And
Mhm.
so that journey for me was huge. It was very, I would say, scary in the sense that it was the dark night. Like I was
Yeah.
in that relationship where I was constantly thinking about death, thinking I was going to die every day. Now I know that that's depression. I had insomnia that I never had in my whole life, anxiety, paranoia. I was like hyper vigilant, always looking over my shoulder. My brain was changing. And because I had so much self awareness, I was aware that something was changing, but I wasn't able to connect it to him. That it was this dynamic causing the PTSD, the CPTSD, all the things. And until
Mhm.
I left and was able to do all my research. And so it was very, I would say, like excruciating in the sense of like excavating my mind.
Mhm.
It was a deep work. So I was like in the trenches and I
Yeah.
pulled myself out. And then like the aftermath of that was a lot. The healing process, the journey was a lot. I feel like I'm just really fully out of that. I think it took me like 10 years to really fully, and they say that's the amount of time often that it could take for the brain to heal in that kind of dynamic, even just 4.5 years. So think about how many women are in 10, 15, 20-year marriages and just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. One that you said like the 10 years. So my big awakening was an overdose and a near death experience, which was 11 years ago. And last year was 10 years. And that's when I did another big shift in my life, like transition. And I think it's true. Like it takes, and last year was so humbling because I thought I have been in this work for over a decade. I'm good. And then I got humbled by the goddess by doing, like I'm in a beautiful divine relationship now, everything that I've dreamed of. And of course, with all that, all of the triggers came up and all of the things that had to work through. And it's so interesting how our body tells us because in past relationships, I've always like something in my body has always told me something. Even when I went through a fertility journey with my ex-husband, and he was an amazing man, checked off everything on paper, but there was just something missing. Even when I was going through all that, like I never had insomnia before, I never had all these things, but my body was telling me. And I think part of this like goddess rebirth remembering is that our body just tells us so much. Can you share a little bit? Because I know that you work with a lot with the body, somatics. To me, that's really been the huge shift in my spiritual healing journey is really coming back. Because as a
Yeah.
traumatized child going through a lot of abuse, I was so used to, you know, really remove,
Dissociating. Yeah,
disassociating, be outside of the body to not feel
absolutely.
pain. I'd love for you to share that because part of the, us being women and mothers, like really coming back to that body. How was that for
That's
you?
Yeah, that is embodiment. The embodiment work
Mhm.
is the work of the divine feminine. We come in and down. We go back and down into the
Yeah.
loin, into the earth, roots to the earth, yoni to the earth, base,
Yeah.
crown to the earth.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was working with the plants. For me, really helped coming back into the body through sense, through smell, through touching, through anointing. So physically touching my body. Womb steaming was really big practice. So
Mm.
sitting over the herbal blend and steaming, letting the steam come up into the womb space and doing that as a practice, as well as working with Yoni eggs, Yoni crystals. So these were all like the beginning journey for me, which is like
Mhm.
working with the eggs inside of the Yoni. So it's like hands in practice, connecting
Mhm.
to the womb with deep intention and surrender and trust and that. And as well as the cycles, tuning, connecting to the cycles and the seasons of the earth was a really big part of my journey. I used to
Yeah.
always be like, I love summer, summer, I love summer. I hate winter because my birthday's in the summer. Like that was such a maiden, like immature
I used
way
to
to
always say
think.
that too. I'm a June baby. I'm a
Yeah.
Gemini.
Yeah. And then now it's like, oh, the winter, it's the crone archetype, it's the dark moon, it's when we go within, it's when we
Mhm.
rest and we do nothing and we receive the wisdom from the cosmic dream time. You know, it's like, oh, it just now I love every season. The fall, the shedding, the leaves are falling off the tree, the luteal phase. I'm just like so tapped in to the seasons, to the earth, and just that brings deeper connection to myself. Like we are the
Mhm.
earth as well as birth. Like birth was a huge birth. There's no hiding in birth. So with
Mhm.
my first birth, I got even though I was doing so much of this work, still in my body, I had the people pleaser wounding inside me and listening to authority figures. So the red flag was there with my care provider that I should have got up and left. Poof, but I didn't. In my body, I still was stuck. I still had the freeze response and I still wasn't able to get up and walk out of the hospital. And that ended up in me a few weeks later getting put to sleep to have a baby. And
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of birth trauma. I'd love for you to share a
a lot
little
of
bit
birth
about
trauma.
that, how there's so much birth trauma. And I think a lot of women just don't know, like, the rights and what the other options are.
Right. And so that's I mean, that's where everything starts with birth. The birth trauma is passed down through the lineage, through our womb, through the stories we hear from our mothers, from our grandmothers, through the scenes we see on the television. And that cycle just keeps getting repeated and repeated. And I broke the cycle. My sister had two C-sections. My mom had two C-sections. So I was the first one to break that cycle and getting to the root. It's essentially the micro and the macro. The micro of being controlled in your relationship dynamics that are so prevalent on this planet and
Mhm.
listening to the authority figure and the masculine and not using our voice and standing in our power and walking away and trusting our intuition in birth. It's the same thing played out in the hospital. So the hospitals are
Mhm.
like our great grand abusers and women not knowing they could leave, not knowing their rights, not knowing they could go find a different care provider, not being connected to their bodies, not trusting their intuition, giving our power outside of ourselves from all the testing, thinking that we have to do these tests, even though they're really irrelevant and all kinds of just systematic control to keep women down. The rise of the Inquisition, birth rose, the control of birth went alongside with that. The burning of the
Mhm.
midwives, the burning of the wise women in Europe,
Mhm.
in America, the witch trials is all connected to birth because these were the women that held the liminal space and the wisdom of birth and of death. And
Mhm.
this was taken from us through the patriarchy, through fear of our power. So
Yeah.
it's deep.
Yeah, I'd love to dive even deeper because, like, one, I think there's a lot of women who would love to know, like, what do you wanna share? Now that you know all this, what would you share with someone like you before, like, for your first birth? Like, what are the options? Like,
Yeah.
what how does a woman even start? Because we think that's the only way,
Mhm.
right? So,
Right.
what would you share to
So
someone who's wanting something different?
the first place I would start is with the Free Birth Society. Emily has created a beautiful community and platform where she releases a podcast every week of a free birth story. So that already starts to reprogram the brain, hearing these powerful birth stories of women birthing outside of the system. So listening to podcasts, listening to these empowering stories is like, oh, I could do that too. It helps to shift the narrative as well as the complete guide to free birth course, whether you're going to birth in a hospital or have a midwife or have a free birth. This resource is so powerful. It is filled with the why, it's filled with the research, it is filled with just deep wisdom that you won't find on the internet, that you're not going to find and hear from your doctor. So,
Mhm.
doing research and education is everything. Education shifts consciousness and creates change. So, reading the books, you can get overwhelmed sometimes with all the books. That's why I'm like, the complete guide to free birth course is like all you need. And talking to other women, hearing birth stories. I always hear women want to tune out birth stories when they're pregnant. And I think that's a very immature mindset. I don't think in the village there's any kind of hiding stories when we all live together in community. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm pregnant, I don't want to hear about that. It's like, no, that's going to give you wisdom and education and empowerment for your own birth. We need to hear each other's stories. And the true embodied woman will take in her story. And, if it was a not the best experience, like that's boundaries. So I think there's wisdom. I think we need to kind of shift that paradigm a little bit. But
Mhm.
that hearing other birth stories and doing your inner work, your inner shadow work of ways that you give your power away and ways that the people pleaser is still living inside of us, because it comes out in birth, whether
Yeah.
it's through your midwife or through the doctor. We think that somebody needs to save us. We think
Mhm.
we are not equipped with the wisdom and tools that we think we could do it on our own, right? So it's like work that we are coming out of this spell.
Yeah, I love that. I've always wanted to do I mean, I did a lot of research when I was with my ex-husband at home birth, and one of the things that I really had to, like, reprogram I turned 40 this year, and I was like, "There's still a chance to" I would still love, especially with my partner now, to get pregnant and have a baby and, trust that this story that they were telling us that, like, women in their 40s, it's way too old, you can't do that, and I've just been looking at other women who are examples that it is possible, right? I feel like when you trust the divine, anything is possible.
Yep.
And so doing that, like just getting into that, I've followed Emily from like years ago and like that just feels like it resonated so much with me, But I think a lot is we don't have that education.
Yep. The
Yeah.
education piece. Yeah.
And so the songs, one of the things that really touched me was like the type of songs and the things that you were singing as you were, doing the ritual for Mel, the mother blessing and all that. Is that something you've always done or that's sort of kind of on your journey been brought out of you? Because those songs were just, I think hearing you singing and seeing all of it was like part of what really just touched me and like made me cry.
Yeah. I was born a singer. I was born with a gift of my voice.
Mhm.
And in my awakening journey, I've been cultivating the new voice that wants to come through, and the music that really wants to come through from my heart and soul. And it's really been a journey. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been like it was back when I was unconscious, where just meet people and do music and go sing up backup vocals for everyone here and there and there. It's like spirit is taking me on this deep, deep inner cultivation. And I'm still in the question of it, but through women's circles, I've just been so drawn to, learning the goddess songs, learning beautiful songs that are easy to teach women in circle, learning just beautiful medicine style sister circle songs, and that divine feminine goddess energy, just weaving that into the circles through the songs.
I love it. So, I know that you have something coming up. Do you wanna share that? Does that have to do more with, like, the mother blessing, the womb wisdom? I'd love to
Yeah.
hear more.
Well, I'm going to be offering a free, so I've been in this glow up. So I lost my glow. Last year was one of the most stressful years of my life. And it was like I woke up one day and I just ate, like my face just was completely aged. And I knew that I could reverse it because I knew that it was caused from stress. I
Mhm.
knew that it was caused from not speaking my truth, because it was a lot of this like mouth kind of droopingness right here.
Yeah.
And I knew it was from last year, everything I went through. I went through like 4, 5 huge life-changing events, and I wasn't able to speak it
Mm.
publicly because other people were involved. And so I kind of
Mhm.
just like held it in.
Mhm.
So I knew that I could reverse it. So I've been on this like 2-month glow up where I've been doing yoga, and face massage, and remineralizing and hydrating and re-regulating and journaling, like deep practices, really connecting to my bleed. Every month I've been going deep into my menstrual, that week of resting and like bleed masks and just really dropping into the loving my womb. So I'm
Mhm.
doing a free, just a day, but it's going to be a free glow up workshop,
Yeah.
sharing some of the things I've learned. And then it's going to lead into a challenge, which will then lead into a group program that I will be offering, that will be a 4-month journey. So yeah, that's all coming. And I do one-on-one sessions. I do in-person, ceremonies and support mamas in birth and postpartum, which is
Mhm.
what I'm really passionate about, really, is that postpartum after baby comes time that has been so forgotten. So
Can you
forgotten.
share more? Because I think so too, we're like, "Okay, the birth is done," and then we kind of don't talk about the mama
Yeah.
and the part after. It's like we celebrate, like, the baby shower, the birth, and then
It's gone. Yeah.
yeah. Can you share a little bit more about that? Because I think that that is so, so important. Because we
Yeah.
used to have a village,
It's have a village.
yeah, and I see that also. I'm Filipino, and we used to like, it's common to have lots of call it yayas, nannies, helpers, the mothers, the grandmothers, but like the
Yep.
women's mothers were always there to help cooking, like all these things. And now, being here in America, it's like it's lost. I'd love
Yep.
to share even more.
Yeah.
Are you ready to thrive, not just survive, in your life, leadership, or career? At Thriver Lifestyle, we believe thriving isn't just about success. It's about alignment, vitality, and creating a lasting impact. For women leaders, our coaching programs are designed for high achieving, busy women who are ready to reclaim their power. If you're feeling burnt out or disconnected, we guide you to transform stress into flow and burnout into balance. Through somatic practices, breath work, and mindfulness, we empower you to lead with authenticity, confidence, and vitality. For corporations, Thriver Lifestyle helps forward thinking organizations cultivate thriving workplace cultures. We created customized wellness programs that foster employee well being, build resilience, and improve morale, unlocking the full potential of your team and company. Whether you're an individual ready to transform or an organization ready to evolve, Thriver Lifestyle is here to help you thrive. Visit thriverlifestyle.com today to learn more and schedule a consultation. Because thriving is more than just a goal, it's a way of life.
So in the Philippines, like you just said, cultures all around the world have an honoring of the days, the weeks, months after birth. In Mexico, it's the cuarentena, the golden month. In China, just all over. In Africa and in India, they call it the first 42 days,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the sacred window. The saying is the first 42 days after birth impact a woman's health and well-being for the next 42 years of her life.
Wow.
And so it's like each day is a year. So the nourishment and care that you received or lack of will impact a woman. And this is why we see so many diseases of the womb, so many hysterectomies, not only from the just lack of overall disconnection from the feminine, but the trauma of birth, the physical, and then women are up standing on their feet 3 days later with their wombs just like falling out of their vaginas. You're not laying flat in bed. So I'm really passionate about serving the mother. It's really the art of postpartum care that's been lost, and we get to revive it through through hiring postpartum doulas. And even that, it's not enough. It's like I can go visit a mom once or twice a week, and that's not enough. She needs to be cared for daily because she needs to be laying in bed pretty much for 40 days. She can be around her bed and off into the living room, but she's not meant to be cooking or cleaning or standing on her feet or even taking care of all the other babies if there are. It's like this is the time the village comes in, the community comes in to cook, to clean, to bring meals, to give massages. In India, mamas are getting massaged every day or twice a day. And that is part of the healing process and the recovery of the body. And we're so open in Ayurveda, those 42 days after birth, we are so open.
Mm-hmm.
We have accessita. We have
Yeah.
space. We're so open physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah. I mean, we're a portal. We literally, burn the spirit realm to the physical. It's an
Yes.
open portal.
So everything you bring into you, because you're so open,
Mhm.
everything that you bring in, the warming foods, the spices, the rituals, the massages, your body just absorbs it in. So it's like take advantage of the sweet window of time that you only get after birth to really nourish yourself, because your body just absorbs it times 100 more than
Yeah.
any other time in life. Your body will actually receive all the love and care and oil massage into everything that you are giving to yourself. So you can actually be more restored and glowing than before you even conceived if you really honor that sacred window and rest and
Mhm.
just let yourself. It's really hard for women. I hear so much like, I could never do that. But that's also our work, is to lay back, not think we could do it all, and
And,
actually
like, receive.
receive.
Yeah. So where does someone start? If they're listening to this, they're like, that just seems so impossible, right? Because they have maybe no one to help them, or they don't have their parents or mom, or like they don't have any resources. Like,
Mhm.
I know they can't, some people don't really have it. Like, what are little things that they can do, especially if maybe they don't have a spouse or a partner who helps out while they're and they have
Yeah.
to do it. Like, what are some things that women can do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the deepest grief right there. What you just said is that, where is everybody? Where is the village? If a woman has no one and her partner's not there either, it's like, what are we? Like, just lost in the
Mhm.
jungle with our brand new baby where tigers can eat us? Like, that's just crazy, right? It's like
Mhm.
no developed society would think that that's normal to leave a mother with her newborn baby. Like, that's a disease on our planet that we get to
Mhm.
heal. So the first thing I would say is find community. Like, it's our job to find the community, even if it's one person, make friends with your neighbors. Like, we got to do that work to find some community, whether it's the immediate family that also needs to be taught all of this word wisdom. Like, our
Mhm.
moms don't know. Like, I had to teach my mom. I'm like, okay, you're coming for 2 weeks. This is what you got to do. I'm going to stay in bed for the whole time you're here. Every morning, you're going to bring me my hot tea with ghee inside, and you're going to bring me my oatmeal with, it's like I had to teach her, and she was like
Mhm.
totally on board. So we get to teach our communities. There's a whole re-education piece. And then if you don't, it's like, okay, well, what can you do? I'm just gonna say Abianca oil massage is like a life-changing practice that is beautiful during postpartum and pregnancy, but you're just heating up, warming up sesame oil or jojoba, whatever oil you have, olive oil, and you're gonna literally pour the oil and massage it into your skin. Circular motions on the joints, long strokes on the arms. I mean, you can look it up.
Mhm.
And oil in Sanskrit means love. It translates to love, sneha. And so giving yourself oil is an act of deep self-love. So, and it just seeps into our skin. So
Mhm.
oil massages, self-oil massages are beautiful, and just doing your best to rest, to lay flat in bed. And yeah, I'm just like, you need the community. I mean, if you don't have
Mhm.
the community, you're not going to be able to do these things. You're going to be up on your feet. So
Yeah.
that's the root of everything to me, is the community. And of course, if you have the money, hiring the postpartum
Mhm.
doula. But we have friends, you can have a friend that maybe she doesn't live in your state, but she's going to come stay with you for 1 week, for 2 weeks, for 1 month,
Mhm.
and help.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's so important to, like, to ask,
Yep,
family, friends. So I think a lot of women have been taught, like, they can just do it on their own. It's like,
exactly.
you can do it on your own, you don't need help, like, and that's just so sad. It
Mhm.
really is, like, and I see a lot of women and even my friends, who've had to do that, and I've seen ones who do have help from their family, and they even look to help from their spouses, their family, their partners, and they just look so much better. Like, completely different energy from
Yep.
people that I know who just are run ragged because all their energy has just been
Yeah.
taken. Yeah.
So that's deep. We're getting to that root of why are we run ragged, right? I think that's our
Mhm.
work. It's like we take self responsibility in that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the women. Maybe I always have the mamas, the women who come to the mother blessing ceremony. There's usually a WhatsApp chat or some kind of group chat created. Allow
Mhm.
those women to be your support team after birth,
Mhm.
especially the ones who don't have kids. That's the other piece. The maidens, they get to step up and serve the mothers because it's been
Mhm.
so distorted what we're seeing right now. But the maidens, the women who don't have children yet, really get to show up for
Mhm.
the women in their community that have children. And that could look like baking a banana bread, coming over, asking, how can I help? If you don't know, maybe ask. Oftentimes the moms don't even know. So that's why the education comes in for everyone. And
Yeah.
they're walking their dog or coming to wash the dishes or babysitting her other children for 2 hours for, without
Mhm.
us having to pay. There's so many ways that we can support our mamas.
Yeah, for sure. And that gives me some ideas too with like my friend because I've always loved that. And I think that's something that I treasure with my culture, my heritage that I don't want to lose because I am here in the US versus in the
Yep.
Philippines. There's just so much support. And even the community, like for deaths, funerals, birthdays, births, people in the community come by at any time and give food or like drop
Mhm.
off food or like do stuff. Like it is really still granted where my family's from, it's from a small island, so they still have that like village feel and it feels really good compared to the city. But there's a lot of those practices that I want to take with me and like not forget because they're there for a reason, and like, even the massages. I think here in the Western world, massages are a luxury. In my culture, hilot is like it's actually a healing modality.
Yeah.
Every time I'm there, my aunts have someone manghihilot, like one who specializes in that healing, that go there into their home all the time. Like, it's
Yes.
just a normal thing. My grandmother taught me at an early age, because I was the eldest daughter, to how to hilot or massage so I could massage her and my mom. It was
Yes.
like a thing that that's what you learn to do, like, especially the feet. And, sometimes when I say that to people, they're like, "That's really weird. So you were, like, little girl that had to do that?" And I'm like, "I didn't think of it as a bad thing." Like, I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't often share that story because they're like, "Why were you doing that?" I'm like, "I don't know. That was just what was taught." And it felt like I don't know, it felt like a reverence to my grandmother and my mom. I didn't think of it as, like, a
I
bad
love
thing.
that. I love that. I also always gave my mom foot massages for my own desire and knowing, and she was always so grateful. I think there's something
Mhm,
to that. There's a wisdom that we were tapped into as young girls.
mhm. Yeah. And so I love what you're doing because it is really just like this remembering and a ritualizing of everything. What else about womb wisdom would you love to share with other women who are just slowly relearning how to move with their cycles to get more in tune? Because I know that it can be a lot, right? How to integrate this with modern society, modern worlds, especially for those who have to like still have a 9 to 5 or feel that we're not as supported. Like what are some key simple things that they can start incorporating to get back into that wisdom and remembrance?
So in my Gaia School of Healing herbalism apprenticeship, we had the only guest teacher that Marisha, beautiful teacher, love her, has come in to teach in the whole 10-month apprenticeship is Kelly Garza. She's the creator of Steamy Chick, which is a beautiful Yoni steaming business and education and herbal supplier. And she shared a story. She's a twin sister and she started to rest during her bleed. So at least day 1 to 3, maybe it's one day, maybe it's 3 days, but she would call a nanny to watch her kids, lay in bed, lay flat, do nothing, just like in postpartum. So this is actually where we began training to do this.
Mhm.
And people started to think that she was the younger sister, where before they're identical twins and no one can tell them apart. And she
Mhm.
actually started to look younger than her sister who wasn't doing this practice.
Mm.
And so the older sister, the other twin sister was like, "Oh my god!" And so she jumped on and started to do this. But that I remember learning that in class, and that changed my life because that's when I began to really start to rest during my cycle, as opposed to cosmopolitan magazines. Reading in high school, I remember they would tell us to go running on
Oh my
treadmills and
gosh. Yeah.
working out while we bleed to reduce cramps. And I mean, great if that's what your body's calling to do, listening number one to our intuition and our bodies always. But where is that wisdom of resting when we bleed. In India, in the Ayurvedic culture where Ayurveda comes from, that's just a normal thing. You don't go to work. Women don't go to work when they're on their bleed. When we look back into the biblical text of the red tent, right?
Mhm.
That wisdom is like, that makes so much sense
Mhm.
to rest when we bleed. It's the time to recharge. And in that, that's actually the key to everlasting beauty.
Yeah.
And we're not just go, 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 constant, constant. We're honoring again the cycles of the earth, the winter season. That's the moon time. That's the shedding of the uterus lining. We're honoring the dark moon
Mhm.
within and without. And so, even just that practice alone will bring in more insights because you're actually resting. So, you're going to get to hear more wisdom that you need and want from your body and working with the herbs. So that this can also go with the mother who maybe doesn't have support, just drinking her nourishing herbs every day, making her overnight infusions of nettle, oat straw, red raspberry leaf, dandelion root, maybe
Mhm.
one herb, maybe it's both herbs, but this herbal knowledge we've forgotten as a society because of
Mhm.
the burning of the witches and the wise women and the indigenous peoples being persecuted. And the herbal medicine brings so much to our mind, body, souls. So I would start with resting when we bleed,
Mhm.
look into herbal infusions, and finding that ritual in your bleed, like giving your blood back to the earth, right? Like
Mhm.
creating some honoring of this sacred time that we've been so shamed
Yeah.
for, right? When it's actually the opposite. This is actually like the most revered time of the month.
Mhm. It's powerful magic, like our blood was the original blood magic, like giving back to the land. It's like so potent. And I think everything that we've been taught to, oh, that's gross to talk about. Oh, that's like taboo. The reason why they did that was because they didn't want us to know, like have that knowledge of our power. Right?
Exactly.
Like that's why it was like, oh no, that's like be really grossed out by it. But actually it's magic. It's absolute
It's magic.
power.
That's why they're stealing our placentas and making lots of money off of them because of the rich stem cells that are in our placentas.
Mhm.
That's a whole other rabbit hole. So yeah, with that, honor your placenta. That's the whole other piece. It's same, give it back to the earth. Just
Mhm.
look into that placenta wisdom because it's powerful. Yeah. So I feel like if there's one other thing I would say for women beginning that practice, herbal medicine, essential oils, connecting with the earth, connecting with the plants and the trees and the elements. And I feel like
Mhm.
just from there, so much just begins to unfold
Yeah.
in the remembering and the reclamation.
Yeah. Beautiful. And if people are listening to this and they're like, okay, that's they start incorporating that, all that, how do they dive deeper with you? Because they would love guidance or someone to help them actually through that path,
Yeah.
especially the postpartum path. How would you, if someone were to reach out to you, can they do that if,
Virtually.
over Zoom virtually, or
Yeah.
you need to be there? Like, how would someone, because there's a lot of women who are like, I don't have that where I live or where I am. How do I even access that or your knowledge?
Yeah. So I offer one-on-one mentorships. They're deep dive journeys that are 3, 6, 9 months long, where we meet every day, or sorry, every week or every other week, and we dive deep into these practices. And I'm holding you in accountability, working specifically with what's coming up for you. And always the relationship dynamics come in as well. Women will,
Mhm.
will realize that they're in an abusive relationship. They might be
Mhm.
coming to me to work on something and then they through that work they realize they need to leave their marriage or
Mhm.
you know so that's like a big part of it. It's the archetype I call in often. And with the postpartum care, so in-person work, great. Virtually we could do sessions where I educate you and your care team on how to support you. So there might be a meeting where there's 5 people on the call because these people are either like living at your house or they're going to come stay with you for like that first month, mamas, grandmas, neighbors, whoever they are, aunties, friends.
Mhm.
And I will teach what this time is, why it's important. And then I give you a 58-page guidebook that has recipes, that has rituals, that has how to do a Yoni steam so that they can make the steams for the mama, the womb steams. I have the supplies list, everything you need. I have my links to all my favorite products. So that's one way that someone can work with me postpartum in the virtual realms. It's just
Mhm.
even knowing, like a lot of people don't even know. Just to hear they could set themselves up.
Yeah, because it's overwhelming to do all that research. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, what do I cook? Like, to put all that together,
Yeah.
that's a lot, especially if they're pregnant and they're about to give birth. That's like so much to think about. And I'm going to keep that in mind when I get pregnant because I've always wanted to do a home birth, ritualize it, have my friends around me, even like all of these things. Like for me, ritual, like living life as a ritual has just been the greatest gift. And yeah, I think it's put more things in my mind about the postpartum stuff, like different practices from the different regions. We have our own practices being Filipino, but I think like incorporating from other cultures would be
Yep.
really beneficial too.
Yep. And I also work with women who are pregnant. They might have a midwife or even an OB, and they're more in the that medical route, but then they
Mhm.
want me to support them in the more rituals and giving them, beautiful herbal bath recipes and Ayurvedic recipes and
Mhm.
holding that. So I can also work with you through the virtual realms as a virtual birth keeper.
Mm.
And I haven't done this yet, but one of my birth keeper friends has attended 7 births through Zoom. They're in
Wow.
other countries or states.
Yeah.
They want to have their free birth, but they want that support of a wise woman in the field.
Yes.
So I'm like, that's great. I would love to do that. I've attended births as well, but it's not what my main focus. Just as a mother of 3 right now, it's a lot that goes into having to be on call and keep my phone on ringer while I'm sleeping. And I'll
Mhm.
do a few if they're deeply aligned, but I'm here for the prenatal, pregnancy, even conception, women who are preparing their wombs to conceive, doing the detoxes and holistic healing protocols, and just connecting to our wombs through guided meditation and all the beautiful practices. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I have it's purely for me question. I haven't really done yoni steaming as regularly as I would like. And if as I'm preparing, for pregnancy, like what do you recommend for a yoni steam? Because I have
Yeah.
my teas already that I drink and like the what I'm eating, the things I'm doing. But you just really gave me a really amazing idea, like to do more yoni steaming to prepare that. Like,
Yeah.
what's your advice
Yeah. So
for
with
me?
the steaming, I mean, if you're not like specifically treating an ailment, like a physical disease of the womb, then you
Mhm.
could really just flow with you when you want to steam. I like to steam. It's great to steam like 3 times before your bleed. So like that like luteal phase, steaming if you can back to back 3 days is great. Even if you just did one steam in, you'll notice for women like lighter periods, brighter red blood, like less clots, less like old blood. So that's a nice way to do it. Or you can bring it in with the full moon or the new moon as a ritual. Like, okay, I'm gonna do a full moon womb steam tonight, and use whatever herbs you have. Like really all the herbs are amazing. There are, of course are specific ones. Like if you want to treat like you have different ailments, but rose, calendula, chamomile, lavender. These are all beautiful plants that you can work with. Nettle, damiana, hibiscus, rosemary, basil. Those are great for like you're treating an infection. Even just water. I always tell people like water has their own consciousness and is a powerful
Mhm.
medicine. Even if you have no herbs, steam with water and set your intention for the healing, whatever it is you're calling in. Set that into the water and you will have a powerful womb steam. Maybe you have just one
Mhm.
plant. Use the dried herb you have growing in your garden, or you can use fresh herbs from your garden, or you can use one plant. Maybe it's just rose. But the intention is everything. Setting the intention, calling in the elements, thanking God, Goddess, Creator for all these beautiful plant medicines and connecting to the elements. That's part of the ritual as you're
Mhm.
making the womb steam. Same with when you're making herbal medicine. It's all about the intention that's going in, the love that's going into the making of what you're creating.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of that stuff already for my teas and like I put it in my baths, but
Yeah.
yes, yoni steam. I'm like, "Oh, have that." Hibiscus, lavender, calendula, hibiscus. I have it over there. So I'm like, "Okay. That's
Yeah. So you
yeah.
can just get creative and make your own blend, or like maybe
Yes.
really work with one plant and see how she works with you and connect to the spirit of that plant.
Mhm.
But yeah, today it's the new moon vibe, so you can do it tonight.
Yeah, in Pisces too, so it's perfect time on a Venus day, which is perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do one.
I know. That's
No,
why
I
I
would
was
say
like,
I
no.
don't like steaming during the ovulation. That's like the one time that it feels counterintuitive to steam. It would be during ovulation, just kind of let the body do her thing and release the egg. And then sometimes it's nice after your bleed. So you want to kind of do like a refresh. And it's like, that's also a beautiful time.
Yeah. Beautiful. So how can people find you if they're like, I want to learn more about all of these things, womb wisdom, mother blessings, postpartum, pregnancy, all of this care? How can they find you and, learn more about you and the work that you do in the world?
Yeah. Well, Instagram's always a great way to connect. Divine Davana, Davana. And my website is Divine Davana. You can send me an email. You can see some of my offerings up there. We could book a discovery call. And yeah, I would say sign up for my newsletter on the website. Those are two great places to find me.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our listeners?
What's coming through that moment, what came through is that the tissues in our yoni are the same tissues in our mouth. I'm sure you might have seen that meme floating around. And so just that remembrance of our voice and the opening of our voice and using our voice and our creative expression and just connecting that to your creative expression of what you're here to birth through, just like remembering that connection of the voice and the mouth to the womb, to the yoni, to the heart, and dropping in and down to the womb. Listen to what she has to say.
Yeah, she's filled with so much wisdom. Yeah, beautiful. Sisters, are you ready to reclaim your wild, sacred, feminine power? Join us for Savage Feminine Reclamation, an intimate, luxurious, and transformative retreat happening September 22 to 27, 2025 in Tulum, Mexico. This isn't just a retreat. It's a sacred 5-day journey into the heart of your divine feminine essence. Through powerful embodiment practices, rituals, and deep connections with nature, you'll shed old layers, awaken your inner goddess, and step into your fullest power, while also enjoying time to explore Tulum's famous cenotes and white sand beaches. Space is extremely limited to ensure a deeply personalized and transformative experience. Don't wait, there's only 10 spots available. Secure your spot now and give yourself the reclamation your soul has been craving. Visit thriverlifestyle.com to learn more and reserve your place today. This is your time. Answer your soul's call to reclaim your savage feminine power. And a question that I ask all of my guests, it's always that last question. In your own words or definition, who's someone that lives a thriver lifestyle?
Someone that lives a thriver lifestyle that I know,
or like just in general, it doesn't have to be a specific person.
Oh, got it. Someone that lives a thriver lifestyle is someone who is dropped into their purpose, to their power, their pleasure, and they're just full embodiment of that access and that expression of divinity flowing through them.
Beautiful. Thank you, Davana, for joining us on the podcast. And to everyone listening, all of Davana's links will be in the show notes, everything. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you. And you've given me so many, I was like, so many, like, ooh, tagging this, gonna tuck that away. Remember that. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yay. Thank you for listening or watching the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to stay inspired with new conversations each week. Your support means the world. Please share this episode with your community, whether it's your team at work or closest friends. Together, we can spread the message of embodied leadership, holistic wellness, and thriving as a collective. Follow me on social media for more insights and behind-the-scenes content. And if something resonated with you today, please leave a podcast review. It helps us get our message to even more people all around the world. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are divine, and you are meant to thrive. See you in the next episode.